Welcome back to the Scattergun Podcast with hosts Derek Ham and Scott Thomas. This is Derek, and Scott and I today are going to talk about a few things. One of the things we're going to talk about is Alaska, one of my favorite places in the whole wide world. Scott's going there in the next day or so we're going to talk about him getting ready for his trip and what to expect. So can't wait to get to talking about that. But we're also going to talk about some gun legislation. We're going to talk about the permitless carry, the sanctuary state law, and also the suppressor bill. All important stuff. It should be very interesting. So anyway, glad you're tuning in. Hope you enjoy the show. Thanks very much. Okay, welcome back to the Scattergun Podcast. This is host 1A, Derek Ham, with Scott Thomas, host 1, well, we'll call it double A. You were going by 1B, but we'll say host double A. Welcome, sir. How are you?
I'm doing well, Derek. How are you?
Doing great. It's been a little while. Been busy. Sounds like you've been busy too. Xena is busy scratching.
Yeah, it's been a little busy around here.
Hopefully Xena's not busy scratching fleas. She's got to reposition. But
there we go.
Yeah. So this episode, I'd like to talk a little bit, or maybe a lot, about Alaska, because I've heard, because you told me that you're going to Alaska tomorrow. Is that right?
Correct.
Tomorrow at like 4 a.m. or something?
Yeah, tomorrow. So in a scant few hours, we'll be waking up here at the compound and making our way to the airport in Austin. I'll board a flight at 7 a.m. to arrive in Phoenix at 7 a.m., where two friends are going to pick me up. One of the friends is going to carry on with me at 7 p.m. on up to Anchorage, where we'll meet up with two other characters. One is an attorney from New York, and the other is a male nurse who lives on Kodiak Island. Mm-hmm. And we're all going to assemble in Anchorage. I guess Friday or Saturday, we're going to, Kenny, the nurse, and I are going to drive from Anchorage down the Kenaway Peninsula to Homer, and the other two boys are going to catch a flight and fly down, where we're going to go do some fishing.
So when you said gentleman from New York, and then you said male nurse, I immediately thought, wow, you got some rough guys going with you. But this is the male nurse that he is based in Alaska. So yes, that's a different, that makes him sound a little, not that, hey, I've had some fantastic male nurses, but still, when you think of Alaska, you don't think of male nurses going hunting and fishing. So I apologize.
He pretty much fits the stereotype of a male nurse in Alaska to a T. He's a rather Rubenesque fella. He's got a beard down to about the middle of his chest.
Perfect.
And he's bald up top.
Perfect.
And he is a funny dude. That's Kenny.
Kenny, who I hope to meet one day in a social visit, not in a professional way. Because you heard about my visit to an Alaska emergency room, right?
No. You may have told me, but I don't recall. Tell me the story.
Yes. So it was the first time I went to Alaska, and I had shot I spent the day stalking a black bear, and shot it, and we had just literally found it because it ran uphill instead of downhill, so I'd come across it, and my cousin was on point with the rifle because you shoot a bear, it's kind of like a dinner bell sometimes to big brown bears. So he came running down the hill after a few minutes of us trying to clean the bear. And he says, there is the biggest grizzly or brown bear that I've ever seen in my life is headed our way. It's about a half a mile away. Hurry. So I take my knife and I'm working on the paws because I'm trying to get, the hide off. And if you're working on the paws, it's really difficult. So I'm working on it and my knife slips and it went, you can't see it in the camera, but it went through my thumb, the whole knife, just whack. Thought I cut my thumb off and it's just spewing blood everywhere. My cousin comes running down the hill and the first thing he says, he looks at me, he looks down and he says, "Is that your blood? Or is that the bear's blood?" And I said, "No, that's mine." And there was panic from that point on. But long story short, we were prepared. We had some blood clotting stuff that you put on there. I thought they were going to sew me up because we had everything, but both of them about passed out when they saw it because it was just pouring out of my hand. They're like, "Oh, well, can you do it?" And no, I can't. I don't think I can. I mean, I guess I could if I absolutely had to, but we got the blood. We got some butterfly things on there. But anyway, on to the important part. When I got flown out, I got taken to the emergency room. I walk in the emergency room. I have a 454 Ruger Alaskan strapped to my chest. I hadn't bathed in a week. I walk right in the front door, and then I realized, oh, crap! I have a pistol, and I look like a crazy person. Nobody batted an eyelash. Nobody cared. They were just like, "Sign here." I said, "Do you want me to?" They're like, "No, you're fine. Don't worry about it." The only thing they wanted to know is how much I weighed. And I said, "How much? Why do you need to know that right away?" Well, because if you pass out, we need to know how many nurses we need in the room, or if we need a male nurse in the room. And I said, "Well, why do you need to know that?" Well, because this is really going to hurt once we take all that off and try and get irrigated and everything. So anyway, but I had to shake so bad because I was hungry, because how I get. And they were so nice. They brought me like licorice and candy and all kinds of stuff just because they didn't want me to hit the ground. But I think the needles to deaden my thumb hurt much worse than just plain stitches, because at one point I just said, "No more needles, let's just do it." But they were, I wanted to send these people like, I don't know, gift cards, cookies, something. I did call like the next day and thank everybody, but I said, "Oh my God, I hadn't bathed in a week." And they said, "Are you kidding? There are people that come in here that haven't bathed in like 3 months. You're perfect. You're fine. Don't worry about it." So male nurse, Alaska, a little different than, your average, or any nurse in Alaska for that matter. My God. So, man, I'm sure your boy has got plenty of stories, to say the least.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. One of my hopes is to catch a glimpse at a bear, but then the flip side of that coin is not to become bear food. So I intend to do some hiking.
Yeah.
There's a glacier just outside of Homer. It's a national park, I believe, and on the days where we're not out on the ocean fishing, I intend to go there and hike around and just take in the sights.
Nice. Now, are you going to do that by yourself or with some people or what?
It depends if the guys want to come or not. If Kenny wants to come, that'd be great. I think the attorney Mallow, the chances of that are about zero. He'll want no part of that. Maybe Liz, the school teacher from Phoenix, maybe he'll want to go.
Mm-hmm. And so, who's the organizer of the fishing trip? Who organized the whole fishing trip? Who got it together?
The attorney. So this is a group of guys that I met on our honeymoon in Aberdeen, Scotland. The school teacher was getting married in Aberdeen, and we went to the wedding. And I met this cast of characters who then invited me to a bachelor party in Vegas. And it's kind of become an annual thing. We either go to Vegas or we go somewhere. Well, I didn't make it last year. They did this last year and had a blast. And so they wanted to do it again. And, Alaska's on my bucket list. So I said, yeah, I'm in. Let's do this. So they're like, we're going to go fishing. And I'm like, I really don't care about fishing. Like it's nothing I've ever had a passion for. And they're like, no, this is different. This is so much fun. Well, I'm open to the experience. Let's see what this is about. Maybe it will be. I don't know.
So you're gonna be fly fishing?
No, we're going to be on a boat in the ocean.
Okay.
Either fishing for halibut or salmon. I don't care about salmon. I do very much want to bring some halibut back.
I was gonna say, if you're gonna be fly fishing, like walking rivers and stuff like that, I was gonna ask, like, okay, well, you got some protection, that sort of thing.
Yeah, so this is the advantage of having an Alaskan nurse who lives in Alaska. So this goes against my better judgment, but I'm going to fly out naked. I'm not going to bring a firearm with me, which I really don't like doing. But when we get to Anchorage, Kenny will meet us there, and he's bringing me a 10 mil. So that is a pretty elegant solution for me, because a 454 Casull in a wheel gun is not something that I'm overly familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
I don't shoot them that often, and the recoil impulse on those babies is significant. The Glock platform, on the other hand, is something that I use on a day-to-day basis. My EDC is a Glock, so I'm very familiar with the firearm. And in 10 mil, recoil is a lot more manageable than in a wheel gun. So and I get more bites at the apple, hopefully, if it should come to that.
Yeah, there's two trains of thought there, two ideas about carrying a pistol. And I talked to a guide from Montana who guides in I'll think of it in a minute. Anyway, it's a wilderness area, tons of bears. And his thing is, nope. He said, I want my first shot to be my big shot. He said, because I may only get one shot. So there's a school of thought there that you want a big bullet, right? But then the other school of thought is, take something you're familiar with and you can handle, right? Because I've got a 10 mil too, and I thought long and hard about taking that versus, like you said, the 454, because I know that thing. I mean, the recoil is ginormous. I mean, it pushes your hand back big time. But even the 10 does if you're not used to it. You're not used to it. I mean, it's got a pretty good push to it. So, I think, I mean, you can buy 200 grain 10 millimeter bullets if you want, and it really packs a punch.
Yeah.
So,
and that's what he's bringing. He's bringing some self-defense ammo in 200 grain flavor. Mm-hmm. So
perfect. I just ordered some from Double Tap, as a matter of fact. I found some and ordered some 200 grain 10 mil. Just, I don't know, when I go to Alaska again.
Well, and I'm going to pick up some bear spray too. Hopefully we're just talking in theory. I get my wish list, then I get to see one at a distance, and I'll be happy.
There was a bear guy that he told me a joke. He said, how do you tell, bear poop from other kind of poop? I said, I don't know. He said, well, it smells like bear spray and there's bells in it. Nice. Because people wear bells.
Yeah.
Alert bears.
So they can hear you.
Right. They can hear you.
Don't surprise them.
Yeah. So hear the ling, ling, ling. And anyway, so I thought that was pretty priceless. And this is a guy that's been guiding in Alaska for I don't know how long. He wrote, second time we went to Alaska, and we're sitting at a cafe in Kalispell. I mean, not Kalispell, in Anchorage. And we start talking to this guy, and then my cousin realized who he was, and he's written like 4 or 5 books, about guiding and bears and whatnot. So he really knew what he was talking about. And then he just told us, last week we just lost a couple fishermen. They went out on their own, and they didn't have anybody with them, and they had no protection of any kind, and they were just literally, walking the streams and stuff. And we found most of them. Great.
Yeah.
And we were just about
stuff to look forward to.
Yeah.
As I'm walking in the woods by myself, hearing every little branch break and.
Well, like my cousin Brad, like he told me, he's like, look, from his experience living and guiding in Alaska, he said, bears are like people. For the most part, they just want to eat, live, and have baby bears. And then every once in a while, there's a crazy one. And there's just nothing you can do about it. There's just a crazy bear. And he's not going to say no, but he says for the most part, they size you up and they try and figure out if you're going to be easy to kill or not. If you look like you're going to be hard to kill, they're probably just going to pass and just say whatever, So I don't know. If you got nothing with you, my cousin told me the best thing to do is throw rocks at him. And that's because nothing in nature throws rocks. So if you're throwing a rock at a bear, they're like, what's that? What can it do next? Because you're throwing a rock at him. So
maybe I can bring like a party favor, like one of those little beep, one of those little like New Year's.
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you're talking about. You'll be like, what is that noise? Holy crap. It might run away, or it might say, I'm going to make that stop because it's really annoying.
This must taste really good.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, man. I've been a couple of times and I'm talking like I know what I'm doing, but your buddy that lives there, I mean, he knows what he's doing. He's not going to put you guys in any kind of danger or anything. So it'll be good. It'll be fantastic.
Oh, yeah. I'm looking forward to that as much as I am the fishing, because again, I'm not a fisherman. I haven't historically been. Maybe this will be the beginning of that passion.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah. I haven't fished yet in Alaska. I want to one day, but I think I'd want to do more of the fly fishing thing. I tried fly fishing a couple of years ago, and it took one lesson and I got actually pretty good at it. I got good enough to where I could catch a fish anyway. But there are guys that do it, and they'll put that thing, exactly, in between, this crevice, this rock, and that twig, and I'm like, catching the back of my head, and the dog on the other side of the pond or whatever. So
as we previously discussed, I live on a river here in Central Texas, and one of my old high school classmates, who's an avid fly fisherman, came. This was several months ago, when there was a fair amount of rain, and he brought all his gear and he went down to the river. And my son, he was great with my son. He gave my son lessons on how to cast a fly, but he was casting. I mean, he caught like 14 fish just back-to-back casts. He knew where to put that fly. He knew where the fish would be. It was truly fascinating to watch. I don't have the patience for that shit, but yeah. It was pretty cool to watch because there was plenty of action. It's beautiful to watch that casting, that's really cool. But the fact that he could look at a river he had never been on before, and he just instinctively knew where to put those flies down, and it would just be a matter of seconds and something would hit it, and he'd bring it in and look at it and throw it back and do it again.
Yeah, we went bone fishing in the Bahamas. And you don't eat bonefish. It's a sport fish, but it's the only thing that I found that is like hunting, but you're fishing, because you got a guy sitting way up top above and he's looking for the bonefish, and then he'll say, 2 o'clock or whatever, and you throw that fly right in front of them. Throw it on them, they spook. Throw it in front of them and reel a little bit, then they'll pop it and they fight like crazy. I mean, they may only be that big, but it's like you caught a barracuda or something. And then you throw them back. So, but it's fun.
That's the other thing I'm looking forward to too, is out on this boat. What else am I going to see? I mean, are there whale there? I don't know. I'm going to find out.
Yeah. I mean, I wonder how close in the shore you'll be, fishing, how close in, because, just from the shore, you'll see bears and moose and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was
I don't know.
When I was in Greenland, we were coming back on the boat, and It's like, wait a minute, hey, there's a whale, and then you look the other side, and running along the landscape is a caribou. I think they're reindeer there. You call them reindeer in Greenland. But anyway, um, yeah, you don't know what you're gonna see. So it's gonna be an adventure. And you picked up some. What did you call it? What did you call that? Not Dramamine, but you picked up something to help with nausea.
Oh, the scopolamine. Yeah. So I got scopolamine patches.
They go behind the ear.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
The attorney was like, "Hey, you need to get motion sickness medicine because last year when we did it, we were puking our guts out the first day." And I was like, "All right, that's fine. That's no problem." So I've got that. I've got rubbers for my shoes to keep my feet dry. And I'm bringing some warm weather gear. It's in the 50s there right now during the day. So it's not particularly cold. But they said, when you get out on the ocean with the wind and the water, that you get wet, you get cold. So
no, better safe than sorry with the motion sickness, man. Because we're not used to it. I mean, God, it's just horrific to spend the day, knowing you're going to be nauseous for the next however many hours when you're going to go in. I mean, it's horrible. So you might as well do it. I mean, even if it makes you a little sleepy or whatever. I mean, big deal, So, but
I've used scopolamine when they put me under general anesthesia for surgery. I typically I get violently ill as I'm coming out of that, and so I've learned over the years, scopolamine patch, Phenergan, I'm good to go.
Yeah.
So I've experienced it before. It gives you a little bit of blurred vision, makes you a little groggy, but otherwise, no big deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the patches stay on for 3 days. So,
So where are y'all staying? Just somebody's house or what?
Yeah, we have an Airbnb in Homer. And so we've got a washer and dryer, a kitchen, everything we need there. There's stores there. I expect everything's going to be quite expensive. So we're gonna just go to the grocery store, get food, eat at the house, and that's fine. I mean, we'll probably eat out. I've been watching some videos of some nice restaurants in Homer, and maybe we'll go to one of those and have some seafood or whatever. But it's always fun just these guys getting together. They're a bunch of characters, and the hijinks ensue, and that's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, no doubt. Man, that does sound like a good time. And how many days are you going for?
We're going to fish 3 days, and we're going to have a day off in between each day in the ocean. So we're going to be there about a week.
Yeah, that's
so 7 days, come back. And then are we still hunting when we get back? Is that still on?
That is still on. That is still on.
So then I come back to an axis hunt, and we can do a Scattergun podcast that recaps the goings on in Homer, Alaska.
There you go. Yeah, I know. Oh, you're gonna have plenty to talk about. That's for sure. But yeah, we are definitely on for our trip to Edwards County near Camp Wood. Yeah, it's. I've been up there a lot recently. Took some clients up there, looked at some ranches, and the freeze was rough on all the animals, but more the exotics, the black buck and the axes. But they say that, but then I'm driving around and I saw axes everywhere. I mean, everywhere. So, it must have knocked down a bunch of the young ones, I suppose. So they'll feel it maybe next year more than this year. I'm not sure, but a lot of damage to trees and stuff. The weight of the ice and the snow just snaps some of those oak trees in half. Mesquites too, but they're still. I mean,
how are they doing right now on the rain front? We've been getting quite a bit of rain here, as I think y'all have as well.
It's up there. It's green. I was just there. Literally, I was where we're going to be hunting last Tuesday and Wednesday last week, and it was nice and green. It looked good. The whole area looked good for having gone through that freeze and everything. So yeah, no, I'm primed and ready to go. It'll be fun.
I'm looking forward to it. I don't know if you want to get off the Alaska tip, but we've got some other stuff to discuss too about laws that have come to pass in this legislative session that are going to impact gun stuff. I don't know if you want to go into that at all.
Yeah, well, you need to enlighten me because I've had my head in the sand, working, taking clients to, different places and trying to, get some things going. Because as you know, and this may change in the next, I don't know, 6 months or a year, but real estate right now is absolutely booming. I mean, there's so much land changing hands. There's so much, I mean, there are properties that I thought there's no way they're going to make, it's going to appraise for what, these guys want to offer. And every time it's praised, so tons of money getting, I had lunch with a guy from Capital Farm Credit the other day, and he said, yeah, they're breaking records every month. And I'd say the same thing on the real estate side of things. It's just, yeah, every month it's more and more. So it's all, I mean, land is always a good, safe bet to put your money.
Yeah.
It was before, and now it really is. But we'll see what inflation does. We'll see what happens. Hopefully there won't be a big downturn. But I don't know. Depends on if the socialists, I mean Democrats, they get some of what they're some of what's going on, I think is going to affect interest rates. That'll affect money. That'll affect real estate. That'll affect, it'll just keep going. So, but yeah, as far as guns go, I have been afraid to pay attention. So please tell me, pray tell, what's been on your
So there's 3 pieces of legislation that were passed in this legislative session that just ended that are of particular interest to me. The first one is universal carry. So that passed. We're now waiting for Governor Abbott to sign it, and it'll become law in September. So that would allow anyone who can legally possess a firearm to carry that firearm concealed or in the open, without the need for a license to carry. They're going to upload some training videos for those who want it so that they can get training for free about what the laws are regarding carrying in Texas. So there's that. And I was in support of that bill, but I have some reservations there, just because I worry about untrained people carrying guns and the consequences of that.
I was going to say, what was the big push on that? Because, playing devil's advocate here, you sent me a video not too long ago, and guys are at a gun range and gun's not firing, and the guy's like, oh, and he's pointing at his hand and he shoots his hand. That knucklehead can carry that pistol, right? So
that's correct.
Assuming
that he's legally allowed to possess, he's of the correct age, he's not a convicted felon, then yes, he can.
And he hasn't had
carry that gun.
And
I would offer 2 caveats to that, because if you remember back to when they passed, at the time they called it the CHL, the Concealed Handgun License, the anti-gun lobby was predicting there were going to be running gun battles in the streets, and people were going to be shooting each other, cats and dogs living together. It never happened. So my hope is that with the passage of universal carry, that too will not manifest, that there won't be acts of utter stupidity. One of the arguments the pro-gun side makes is licensure. The CHL laws are by nature discriminatory. They're very expensive. They require time, the license costs, and there's other costs associated with getting the license. This universal carry law would take down all those barriers to carrying firearms so that the common man maybe somebody who's low socioeconomic status can gain entry into that world and protect themselves like us licensed carriers can on a day-to-day basis. That's one of the arguments.
Mm-hmm.
The next piece of legislation that's interesting is the passage of the sanctuary state law. So it's kind of the idea where the Democrats declared sanctuary states for immigration, where the state and the local agencies would not enforce immigration laws. Well, this sanctuary state law pertains to firearms and firearms laws. So the state of Texas is now saying they will not enforce federal firearms laws or any gun laws that are not state of Texas laws. And so that'll be interesting. You know, the feds can come in and do their thing, but they'll be doing it without the support of local agencies, which if you don't work in law enforcement, you might not realize that when the feds come in, they count heavily on collaboration with local law enforcement agencies. So that is an interesting twist. So if there's an assault rifle ban or the honey badger rule, and the feds want to enforce it, they're going to have to come to the state of Texas and carry out their operations without any local support. So there's that. The third one is really interesting. And this one, I'm going to see if I can find it real quick. Essentially, the gist of this last one is just intriguing to me. And that is, if a suppressor is manufactured in the state of Texas, so the source of manufacture is Texas, you will no longer have to wait for the federal tax stamp for an NFA item, meaning you could walk into a store, purchase a suppressor, and walk out of the store with a suppressor right then, right there. Now, what's not clear to me in this law is that is still an NFA item, and the feds still require that you have a Form 4 on that item. So I don't know. I don't know if the feds could then still come after you, but suppressors will be mainstreamed at that point.
Just talking from I don't know, common sense to me, you know, I don't understand the big wait. If you're gonna have to wait for a suppressor, why wouldn't you have to wait to get a firearm that actually shoots the bullet? You know what I mean? Because it's not like a suppressor.
Yeah.
It's not like a suppressor in and of itself can do anything, right? So
Right.
I don't understand. If anything, it should be just the opposite. You would have to wait for a firearm to go through some kind of check. This is just me spewing things out, and I'm sure there's arguments, people screaming at the screen radio right now. But you know, there should, if you're going to have a restriction, it should be on the actual firearm and not the suppressor, I think. So there's not one on the firearm, so why should there be on the suppressor? That's always been my thought. I thought it was crazy. You got to wait 6 months to get one.
Yeah, wow. The NFA is a weird deal, man. It regulates machine guns. Okay, I get that.
Yeah,
you
sure.
do too.
Sure.
You don't want those floating around. You can make that argument,
right?
And I think most reasonable people would say, yeah, that's probably something that we should be pretty careful about allowing the proliferation of. But then it goes on to regulate short-barreled rifles because they're concealable, presumably. Okay, it's
so is a pistol.
Is it any more lethal than a long arm? Not really. And then it went off into suppressors, and I'm like you. All a suppressor does is make a gun hearing safe. It allows you to fire the firearm without damaging your hearing. And I've got one hearing aid now, due to hearing loss from being stupid as a youth. I don't need the additional damage from from firearms, and so I like using my suppressors for that reason.
Well, the whole in New Zealand when I was there, that every rifle that was handed to me was suppressed, and I asked, I was like, well, wow, how'd you get all these or whatever? And it's like, what do you mean, mate? Like everybody's got suppressed here. We're not going to shoot loud guns. That's just stupid. I'm like, well, yeah, kind of, So
It's
anyway,
a muffler. It's a muffler for a gun. That's all it is. Literally a muffler. But there's so much intrigue in this country surrounding a suppressor. It in the minds of the anti-gun lobby, it elevates you to an assassin instantly.
Well,
and that's the
it's
imagery that the public has.
It's the media that has done that, and I don't mean news media. I mean film and TV. Where you see a guy, with something, and he's pop 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 pop, and I'm like, no, it's probably gonna be louder than that. Yeah. Sneaking up on people, whereas otherwise
it makes you bulletproof and invisible.
I know. I was gonna say you'd still be able to walk up on somebody with a pistol, and it doesn't matter if it's silent or not. But whatever.
Right.
It's like some of the laws of carrying a pistol into a certain area. You can't carry one in here. Well, a criminal is not going to see that sign and say, "Oh, I can't. My gosh, I can't go in here with my pistol, so I'm not going to go in there." Law-abiding citizen won't. It turns into. Go ahead.
I had a very interesting encounter recently along those lines. I was at our local HEB grocery store, and I was walking through the produce section with my wife, and I noticed a gentleman who had reached over to grab something, and his T-shirt came up over his holster, and the holster was exposed. So, I saw that, and I walked up to him discreetly and kind of tapped him on the shoulder and said, "Hey, brother, you're printing. I can see your holster." And this guy was not a Texan, which became apparent immediately. So he spins around and he goes, "Oh no, I left my gun in the car." And he lifts his shirt up to show that the holster is empty. And I was like, "All right, dude, settle down." I didn't mean any offense by this. I was just politely letting you know, that your holster firearm was exposed, and just to close his name, well, I follow the rules. And so I left it in the truck, and he says this very loudly. And I'm like, "Come on, dude, settle down." So I kind of quietly said to him, "Look, I carry two. I'm not disturbed by it, but just so you know, this particular store is 30-07, meaning you can carry concealed, you just can't carry in the open." And he looked at me kind of like a dog hearing a high-pitched sound. And I said, quietly, I said, "I've got mine right here. It's just, you're within the law to carry it in here as long as you keep it concealed." And he was like, "Oh, well, hold on, I'm going to my truck."
Yeah, and going back to the universal carry. So, my personal experience with my class was outstanding. I mean, I had an outstanding instructor, that put us in real situations and actually caught me out on some things that I might not have known. I think I told you about that, where, it was a situation that's like, you draw or you don't draw, had a second to think about it. And,
Right.
But anyway, I won't go into the whole situation, but he said, "Hey man, don't worry about it." He said, during that situation, he said, "I was asked the same question. I did the same thing. It was wrong then, it's wrong now. Here's why, blah, blah, blah." But if you don't get that sit down and talk to somebody, I don't know. But it's the same thing about somebody goes and buys a $10,000 rifle, and then they put a $12,000 scope on it or something, right? And then they have no idea how to use it.
That makes him a sniper, right? Doesn't that make him a sniper?
Yeah, for sure. The more money you spend, yeah. But anyway, my point is, you should know how to use your weapon, period.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
I don't know, what that will do, but I'll tell you this. God love Edwards County. Every time I go up there, everybody I see that does carry, they carry, it's exposed, it's out. I mean, it's we're walking
Oh
around.
yeah.
It's like the Wild West out there.
3 o'clock protruding out under that t-shirt or
Oh
I
yeah.
see it all the time as well. Going to the issue of training, and that's the key here, right? Is to get trained to, even if you're, I'm, not to blow my own horn, but I'm rather experienced and pretty damn good with a handgun. It's something that I've been working on for years and years. But day before yesterday, I got an email from my employer, the range at Austin, and they said, "Hey, it's been a while since you qualified to carry on the range. It's time for you to requalify." Some people might get a little disturbed by that and go, "God, well, I already passed the qualification once." I'm not that guy. I was like, great, this is an opportunity for more training. And our new lead trainer, and if you're in the Austin area and you're looking for training, I would highly recommend, not because I work there, but because this guy is this good. Our new lead trainer, Jeff Rockwell, is just fantastic. And he's a big IDPA competitor. And so this requalification that we went through really pushed us in ways that the other qualification didn't. And it involved, drawing from static retention, shooting within time windows, shooting on the move. And then it culminated with a kind of a shoot, no shoot scenario where you had to very quickly, you had X number of seconds to draw your firearm, neutralize the targets that need to be neutralized without inadvertently or intentionally hitting a target that shouldn't be engaged.
No,
and that was good stuff.
Yeah,
but 95% of firearms owners never get that kind of training. The most they do is they go to the range every whatever time frame, month, 6 months, once a year. They go to the range, they take a box of shells, and they statically stand there and shoot at a paper target 7 yards away. I'm not saying there's no value in that. There certainly is. But do we have an obligation to, if you're gonna pack a firearm on a daily basis, which I do, and you probably do too, it's a no-brainer that we need to evolve beyond just being able to hit a silhouette target at 7 yards from static position.
Yeah, so I want to approach carrying the same way that I approached. So years ago, I had an opportunity to get into mixed martial arts, and I had always had this fear of being pinned on my back, right? That somebody at some point would pin me on my back, and what do you do? Because most of the time, I mean, you see guys are pinned on their back. It's impossible to get out of that. Well, so one of our first lessons, the guy says, "Look, I mean, me and two other, long story short, me and two other friends, we hired this guy who he trains a lot of mixed martial arts guys. He also trains a lot of boxers, kickboxers, things like that. So we hired him, and it was just the four of us, the instructor and the three of us, so we could go 2-on-2. And we did this for a year. And every week he would say, "Okay, what do you want to work on? You want to work on, hand-to-hand, knife, grappling, whatever." He said, "But what are you afraid of?" And so I told him, I said, "Look, this is something that's always bothered me, right? Now, if somebody gets me pinned to my back, I'm at an advantage. I feel like I'm at an advantage. I know how to get out of it. I'm probably going to break your arm when I get out of it. I mean, I'm that confident in it because I had bigger guys on top of me, big, fast guys. So I approached it that way. And I feel like I want to approach, I got my carry license, like 6 months ago or something like that. So I've had it for 6 months, but what have I done? And so it's really my responsibility, and everybody should feel that way. Know your weapon. So because the chances of something happening and you're going to be able to stand there with your feet apart and shoot at something, like you said, 7 yards away are 0% chance that's going to happen, right? So you should be able to take it out without shooting yourself. You should be, all those things. You should be able to break it down, all that. And I still kind of have my fear of a pistol right now. If I have one, is one that doesn't have a hammer on it. That bothers me, that there's not a hammer right there for me to either go click. You know what I mean? You laugh.
Yeah,
It's
I do.
true. It bothers me.
I do
I'm
because
looking
I
at it
made
like,
that transition.
go
The
ahead.
transition from a hammer fired gun to a striker fired gun, it takes a little getting used to.
Mhm.
But you know, that's the way the world is going. Like, you know, the the old timer that's carrying the 1911. That's not to say the 1911 isn't a perfectly good firearm, or the SIG P226, but almost everybody's carrying polymer striker fired pistols now for EDC. They're just
Right.
way convenient. But I get it. I understand. It's something different. It's something new. And there's trade-offs. Good and
Yeah, I
bad.
mean, the idea of having one in the pipe and the striker fired, and man, you pull it out, man, it's ready to go. It's, you put your finger on the trigger, it's going to go boom. So pulling it out fast or pulling it out however, am I going to shoot myself in the heel, or am I in the junk, whatever. Whereas, before, like my Colt Delta 10 millimeter, I could put one in the pipe, I could put that hammer down, and then I could still pull it out, pull the hammer back, bang, and shoot, if I wanted to. And so I was comfortable with that.
Right.
So, but anyway, that's, neither here nor there, but begs the question where it is.
But
And
it's like
where it
you
is that
said.
you've got to understand your weapon. You've got to, and I don't know how this universal carry thing is like, I don't think it's going to be Armageddon. I don't think people are going to be, like you said, running through the streets, but
Yeah, no.
there's just going to be, there may be some lapses in judgment with people carrying, so I think
there's a good chance. And what should be mentioned in this is they're not exempt from criminal culpability for the acts that they commit. They're not exempt from criminal culpability because they didn't know.
Mhm.
If somebody foolishly, if you neglect to get trained, to educate yourself, and you elect to carry and you do something illegal, well, guess what? You're going to jail. I mean, that's going to happen.
Well, those are three really big ones. So in summation, so universal carry, that's waiting for Abbott to sign, right? I mean, it's there.
Right.
And then,
and he said twice he's going to sign it, so it looks like it's going to happen.
Okay, so universal carry, and then the second
Sanctuary state.
Very interesting how that could unfold with the feds, like you said.
Yep.
And then the third one
is the Texas manufactured suppressors will no longer require a waiting period.
Right.
But I'm waiting to learn if you're still in the crosshairs of the feds if you do that. That could inadvertently lead to another set of problems for people. But what that would, here's the other kind of inside baseball thing about that is you can Form 1, not Form 4, where you have to wait a year, but Form 1, an NFA item, and typically the turnaround on a Form 1 is very fast, a month, 6 weeks. I've got two does, or a young buck and a doe, about 10 feet from my window, looking at me like I'm crazy.
Yeah. Well, because
there's four of them.
They're looking at you because they're going, it's June, haha.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Well, yeah, I want to wrap it up with those three. I think those are three to really think about and consider, and we're going to follow that as they progress. And we won't get into the federal stuff. That's some of the stuff that's been.
When we meet next time, we can talk about whether those bills were all signed into law. If they are, they'll go into effect September 1. So none of it is going into effect yet.
Bring pictures or send me pictures from Alaska when you have a signal. When I shot my moose in Alaska, I actually got to a high enough point I could send pictures. There was a cell. I don't know how, because we were like, in the middle of nowhere, but I had like a bar and I could send pictures to people and they're like, holy crap. So anyway, I expect pictures And yeah, we'll have some great stories to tell. And then we'll get on that hunt and we'll have even more stories to tell. So it'll be good.
Absolutely. Okay, I'm going to try and take us out by panning to these deer. Let's see if I can succeed. Here we go.
Okay.
Coming around. So far, they haven't reacted. Can you see them yet? On the right window?
No, not yet.
You don't see the one right there outside the window? Am I at the right window? No. You don't see him right there?
Oh God, yeah. Now I do. Good Lord. Yeah. Reach out and
you see
pet him.
Yeah. There we go.
He's having a nice little, or she. I can't see if there's any antlers there yet or not.
You see the felt on the other two over there?
Not through the. Barely. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Very cool.
There's 4 or 5 of them out there.
Nice.
All right. Well, that concludes this episode of the Scattergun Podcast. Stay tuned for Does Studio 1AA come back, or is he eaten by a bear?
Yes. No doubt. All right, sir. You be safe, and we will talk soon.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it.
Yes, sir. Thank you for listening to the Scattergun Podcast. Hope you enjoyed it. And as usual, we'll try and do better next time. Thanks.
Absolutely.
Thanks again for listening to the Scattergun Podcast with Derek Ham and Scott Thomas. We'd love to hear from you, so if you'd like to email us, you can email us at derekham@scattergunpodcast.com. That's Derek, DEREKHAM, @scattergunpodcast.com. Thanks again for listening. See you next time.